Ever notice how, in a room full of excitement, one person seems completely unmoved? The match is on. The score is tight. Everyone is shouting at the screen like their voice might change the outcome. And then there's that one individual calmly sipping a drink, scrolling a phone, or asking a question that feels almost offensive in the moment. So, how long is this going to take? They're not angry. They're not bored in the usual way. They're just not connected. In a world where sports feel almost universal, weekend rituals, national pride, lifelong loyalties, it can seem strange that some people simply don't watch sports at all. No highlights, no finals, no emotional investment. But this isn't about being antisocial, detached, or missing out. There's a psychology behind why certain minds never lock into sports culture. And once that psychology is understood, the difference starts to feel less like an oddity and more like a reflection of how differently people process meaning, excitement, and belonging. One common profile appears early. This is the person whose mind doesn't respond strongly to symbolic competition. Two teams. Colors. Logos. Scores. Psychologically, sports rely heavily on symbolic identification, the ability to emotionally attach to representation. A jersey becomes us. The opponent becomes them. Some minds simply don't engage deeply with that abstraction. For this group, watching strangers compete doesn't trigger emotional ownership. The outcome feels distant, not personal. The brain asks a quiet question: why should this matter to me? It's not a lack of passion, it's selective meaning. Emotional energy is reserved for areas that feel more directly relevant: ideas, relationships, creativity, or personal goals. They don't feel the loss. They don't feel the win. Because the symbol never became self-relevant. Then there's another type, shaped by overstimulation rather than disinterest. Stadium noise. Crowds. Commentary. Advertisements. Constant motion. For some people, sports broadcasts are not relaxing, they're mentally exhausting. Psychologically, this aligns with high sensory sensitivity. The nervous system processes stimuli more intensely, making loud, fast-paced environments draining instead of energizing. While others feel excitement, this group feels cognitive fatigue. The mind doesn't settle into the game, it scans for quiet. So they choose different forms of engagement: books, conversations, long-form videos, music, spaces where stimulation is controlled and predictable. They're not anti-fun. They're pro-regulation. Another profile reveals itself socially. Sports are often used as a bonding language. Small talk, group identity, instant connection. But not everyone connects through shared fandom. Some people build relationships through depth rather than alignment. They prefer discussions about ideas, personal experiences, or abstract questions. For them, sports conversations feel repetitive, surface level, or emotionally distant. Psychology refers to this as preference-based social bonding. Different minds bond through different channels. Sports culture can feel exclusionary if it doesn't match one's communication style. Over time, disengagement becomes a form of self-protection, stepping away from a social space that doesn't feel natural. They're not avoiding people. They're avoiding a language they don't speak fluently. Then there's the mindset shaped by time perception. To many, sports are a break from life. To others, they feel like a pause button stuck on repeat. 3 hours for one game. Multiple seasons. Endless analysis. This group has a strong, future-oriented mindset. Time feels valuable, almost tangible. Activities are often evaluated by perceived return, learning, progress, emotional fulfillment. Watching sports doesn't register as wasted time, but it doesn't feel rewarding either. Psychologically, this reflects goal-driven cognition. The brain prefers experiences with visible personal payoff. Entertainment is chosen carefully. often leaning toward content that informs, soothes, or advances understanding. Sports don't fail here. They simply don't qualify. Another profile comes from emotional history. Some people associate sports with exclusion, pressure, or comparison. Childhood experiences, being picked last, mocked for disinterest, or forced into participation, can quietly shape adult preferences. The mind remembers emotional discomfort long after the event itself fades. Psychology shows that avoidance often follows unresolved emotional associations. Sports become linked not to joy, but to judgment or alienation. So the adult disengages, not consciously, but instinctively. It's not rebellion. It's emotional memory steering behavior. Then comes the twist. Many people who don't watch sports are deeply passionate, just not publicly so. They invest that passion elsewhere. Art, technology, philosophy, games, nature, music, community causes. The same neurological reward systems are active, just triggered by different stimuli. Sports are one expression of excitement, identity, and belonging, not the universal one. The absence of sports fandom does not equal emotional flatness. It often signals focused intensity. Culturally, sports are framed as a default interest. This framing creates the illusion that opting out is unusual. But psychology doesn't work on defaults. It works on resonance. The brain engages with what feels meaningful, regulating, and identity consistent. For some, that's a last-minute goal. For others, it's a quiet moment of insight. It's also worth noting that disengagement from sports often increases with self-awareness. As people become clearer about what genuinely energizes them, they stop performing interest for social alignment. Psychologically, this reflects individuation, the process of aligning behavior with internal values rather than external expectations. Choosing not to watch sports can be a quiet act of authenticity. No announcement. No argument. Just a personal preference lived calmly. Of course, misunderstanding happens. Sports fans may see indifference as coldness. Non-fans may see fandom as irrational. But neither side is wrong. They're responding to different psychological reward systems. One finds meaning in shared competition. The other finds it elsewhere. So what does it really say about people who don't watch sports? It often reflects selective emotional investment, different sensory thresholds, alternative bonding styles, personal meaning filters shaped by experience. Not a flaw, not a statement, just a different wiring. The more interesting question isn't why some people don't watch sports. It's why society assumes everyone should. Understanding this difference expands how human motivation is viewed, not as a single track, but as many parallel paths. Some lead to stadiums. Some lead inward. Both are human. Which of these profiles feels familiar? And how does this perspective shift the way differences are interpreted? If this exploration sparked recognition or clarity, continuing the conversation keeps these psychological patterns visible, where understanding replaces assumption.